Our main event, Brock Lesnar, the Universal Champion, going against Roman Reigns. It's 3 years in the making. Their first match, WrestleMania 31, which ended in a Money in the Bank cash-in. Then WrestleMania 34, which led into a hijacking from the crowd. Then the Greatest Royal Rumble, which ended in a screwy finish. How does this one end?
Your guess is as good as mine, I think.
That's what I love about this story.
Yeah, I mean, for what all the fans are going to say about this leading up to it, the fact that they're going to say that, they hate Roman Reigns or that he's been gifted opportunities. And I think he's certainly been gifted certain opportunities that other people may have deserved to a certain extent. I do expect them to put on a good match, and I think the build to this has been pretty good. Mostly because, Paul Heyman, like I always say, he's one of the world's best salesmen. He can sell you pretty much anything. I thought the dynamic from last week was enough to keep me intrigued. So I don't see Brock Lesnar winning, especially for the simple fact that he's going to be going to the UFC and competing in the UFC. So I don't see that. I see Roman Reigns finally getting his victory over Brock Lesnar, riding off into the sunset, at least for the time being, and just let this end. Let it end. No, everyone's sick of it. Nobody wants to see it anymore. Nobody cares that much about it.
See, here's the problem. 4 o'clock Sunday afternoon, Brock Lesnar is meeting with the higher-ups of WWE to discuss his future.
Yeah.
As of now, there are talks that there are 2 finishes to this match already planned. One, and it all depends on the crowd. So if the crowd hijacks, it's going to go one way. If the crowd takes it like they have been the last 3 weeks, it's going to go another way. It also depends on what this meeting ends up doing, because the talk is Brock wants to do both, and he wants to be a champion in both. The question is, does Vince take the risk and put his top champion as top champion in a legit fight where he could lose, as we talked about this before?
Yeah. Not only lose, he could get embarrassed.
He could.
Daniel Cormier, and this is obviously not a podcast about MMA or UFC by any means, but Daniel Cormier is certainly one of the best, if not the best, mixed martial artist of all time.
Right.
It's arguable.
Right.
He could go in there and get embarrassed. Now, why would a guy like Vince McMahon want to risk sending his heavyweight champion, his pretend heavyweight, his legitimate heavyweight champion, but in a pretend street fight, send him into a real street fight, only to come back with his tail between his legs if he gets embarrassed?
Mm-hmm.
What business sense does that make?
It doesn't make much business sense, but this is Vince we're talking about here. Anytime he can get WWE in the mainstream, he's going to do it. So, it's just because it's Brock Lesnar, and the last, 6 months, 8 months have been so unpredictable with him, where we just assumed that he was finally going to drop the title, and he hasn't yet.
Mm-hmm.
It keeps that in the back of your mind. Plus the storyline with Paul Heyman. What does he do? Does he swerve and, align with Roman? Or did they already tip their hand and say it's already a ruse with the pepper spray spot, which was the dumbest thing that they could have done to this thing? Like, the promo Roman cut and the beatdown Lesnar had were great. The pepper spray spot was stupid. It did nothing.
Well,
it did nothing for the story. And it almost turned me off to the match completely. But I am so invested in this. I really want to know where this goes. With that said, I do believe this is it for Roman. Roman will finally get the Universal title.
So, but let me offer you this. Now, I think going back to his WrestleMania 31, or it could have been 30 match, there were rumors of Brock going back to UFC, right? And he essentially used 31. He used those rumors to his advantage because he is a smart businessman, and we've seen that time and time again. The man knows how to make money. He's a draw, whether he's in the UFC or he's in the WWE. He pulls some significant pay-per-view buys, no matter where it is, right? He used the rumors and the internet and the media to his advantage, right? So what I think could potentially be happening here is he could be using those things to his advantage to get more money out of the WWE. Why is that so hard to believe? Why is that, beyond the realm of imagination?
Mm-hmm.
So will Brock Lesnar go back to the UFC? Maybe, but at the end of the day, I think he is going to stay with the WWE. He might go to UFC and compete, but I think it's in his best interest to stay in the WWE. But I don't see him walking out of SummerSlam with the title.
So you're going with a Reigns win?
Reluctantly, yeah. I don't see any other alternative to that.
Do we see a cash-in? You have Owens winning. So this could be the time where...
If Brock wins, just think about that. Can you see a guy like Kevin Owens doing a pop-up powerbomb on Brock Lesnar? I can't even imagine seeing that.
Right.
There's other ways he could certainly win. I mean, but I don't.
Do they pull a WrestleMania 31 where he catches in midway through and does the pop-up powerbomb to Reigns? This is the beauty of it, because we've seen this stuff before. And
there's a lot of things that could happen, and it all depends on who's got the money in the bank. But I think at the end of the day, Roman walks out of SummerSlam the champion.
All right. So you're going with the Reigns win. I'm going with the Reigns win, but I feel like if Owens is winning, he's going to cash in. The question is when. So.